Hi, I decided to do this video because of my concern regarding schools, children and detentions. I dislike detentions myself and I work within the schools where I've always sort of worked in schools in a certain way of supporting children or counselling them and so forth. So I really wanted to talk about safeguarding in schools and safeguarding of children, which they claim that they do. So I'm going to read you the 6 principles of safeguarding, yeah, in schools, yeah? Okay, empowerment, which is support vulnerable people to make their own informed decisions. Prevention, take action to stop abuse, harm, and neglect before it occurs. Proportionality, respond in the least intrusive manner as appropriate to the risk. Protection, understand the best ways to support and protect vulnerable people. Partnership, work with other organisations and local community to keep people safe. Accountability, everyone close to a vulnerable person is responsible for noting safeguarding concerns. Okay, now within saying this, let's look at the reasons behind detentions. Detentions was first thought of to do with a behavioural problem with children. They felt that giving detention may help them to think about their behaviour, which you all know it never worked. Anyway, detentions has extended now to homework and also, as a way of control and also to control lateness within school. Okay. Now, my thing is this, when we think about the principles and then think about the well-being of the children. Now, nothing that principles talk about the well-being of children within schools. Yeah. Now, when you think about this now, you're going to give a child a detention because a child is late. Why is the child late? Now, some children are late because they might have a parent at home who's on drugs and they have to take care of that parent before they leave. Or they might have to look after the siblings. Or they might have to take siblings to school. And that's why they're late. So they're already emotionally, I might as well say, punished in a sense. This poor child has so much responsibility. Now, that child gets to school and you're going to give them a punishment of detention because they're late. You don't know if they're vulnerable at home because you don't ask the question. You don't want to figure out why this child's always late. If this child decides not to go to detention after school, you may think, oh, this child's got a behavioural issue, but not realising that maybe this child has to go and pick up their siblings from school. You don't know. But you're not asking because you don't care. The next thing now, you talk about homework. Now, some children, they may get their homework and they haven't done their homework because maybe they don't understand the homework. Some of you teachers are unapproachable. Yeah. Now, a lot of these homework is done online on portals. What's going on in their home? Have they got access to that computer? Can they be using their phone? You don't know what they're going through in their home. Can they have access to the portal? Do they know how to access the portal? So you're giving them detention now. And have you asked these questions? Have you asked them, can they access the portal? Do they know how to access the portal? Do they understand the homework? So if you're going to keep them in detention, at least you have an understanding. But no, you don't care. You just keep them in detention. And you can continue keeping that child for the same lesson, keep giving them detention, not understand that maybe the child just don't understand the homework or don't know how to access the homework or got some cognitive impairment or understanding or have ADHD or something going on with it. Because in schools, if they don't have an SEN teacher beside them, then they can't have a problem. That's how you look at it. Don't mean that they don't have a problem. So this is the thing. Now, you give that child a detention and you give that child something like an hour's detention. Now, remember, children are safer in numbers. That child is staying after school, especially in wintertime, in the cold, in the dark, and they're staying at school for about an hour. Now, they've got to go home on their own now. And we know that there's a lot of predators out there. There's paedophiles out there. Children are getting adopted and there's gangs. But you don't care. You keep that person's child at home, someone's child, in your school, and then you let them leave. Now, where is this safeguarding? and well-being for the child when you do that? This is what I want to know. Suppose now that child gets abducted on the way home or gets stabbed by a gang member on the way home. What are you going to say to the parent? Oh, the child didn't do the homework. Is the punishment warrant what will happen to the child? Let's look at this and this proportionality. Let's weigh it up. Yeah, a child getting stabbed or abducted by a predator or something on the way home, is it weigh up the proportion of because they didn't do the homework or they were late? It doesn't weigh up. So how is your principles? How are your principles protecting the young child? It's not in any way. And detention leaves children vulnerable on their way home from school, on their own, with no numbers, no one to protect them. Not only that, some parents do not know that their children are doing detention. So imagine that. That what you're going to tell the parent if their child gets abducted? What you're going to tell the parent? A lot of parents don't even know why their child hasn't reached home yet because you've just taken their child and held them hostage in school because it is holding them as hostage. You may call it a sanction, but it's holding the child against their will because you ask any child, do you want to stay behind school for an hour and do detention? I'm sure they're going to say no. So that means you have forced them with a sanction, which means at the end of the day, you're holding them hostage, which I'm sure is a criminal offence. So I feel that basically detention needs to be looked at more. I feel that detention should be abolished. I think there's a next way you need to try and deal with situations when it comes to young people. Because what it is, you put everyone into like one category, everyone under one umbrella and say this what it must be. But you do not respect individuality. You do not respect individual situations. You do not, look after the child and look at the well-being of the child. You just look at sanctions, punishments, and that is it. And this has to stop. A lot of you teachers as well who are in schools now, you're NQTs, newly qualified teachers because of lack of funding. Some of you don't even have children. Some of you, I wonder if you even like children. So what you have now, instead of having teachers that are more, professional and may have a bit more understanding, you don't have that anymore. So there's no care for young people. This is the problem. And some of you lot are handing out detentions like you're handing out sweets, literally, because you don't care about the child and you don't care about the child well-being. So I feel that you have to look at the vulnerability of each child. You have to consider can happen if you have that child left in school without being in a group, left in school on their own and going home by themselves, and what you could be actually setting up to happen for the child. And I'm sorry, and I'm going to just say this. Yes, they have to, a part of this safeguarding is to check teachers' background to see if they got any record of, with children or abuse or so forth. But just because they're not on the record doesn't mean they are. Doesn't mean they cannot be setting up someone's child. I'm sorry, I'm just saying it. So at the end of the day, I have to speak my truth. Detentions need to be abolished. You need to look after the child's well-being. And if children are late, you need to understand why they're continuously late. Yeah, if they haven't done their homework, you need to ask questions why and know if they understand homework. Okay? So this is just my point of view on detention. Please leave your comments and tell me what you think.